Yeah, yeah. We loading up on grace. Yeah, yeah. Sisters in the word, shopping in our swords, walking while we speak and stay and prayed up. From the everyday battles to the big breakthroughs, we right here with you, telling truth on truth. This is Spiritual Arsenal, the Sisters in Truth podcast with your host F and Cat. Spiritual Arsenal, yeah. We got faith, we got fire. Come and sit, come and chat. This is Spiritual Arsenal with your host F and Cat. Pull up to the table, bring your heart, bring your questions. We unpack the pressure, turn it into lessons. Laughing and we learning. We give you Bible, not opinions. This is Spiritual Arsenal. The Sisters in Truth podcast with your host F and Cat. Spiritual Arsenal, yeah. We got faith, we got fire. Come and sit, come and chat. This is Spiritual Arsenal with your host F and Cat.
God is close to the brokenhearted. That's what it tells us in Psalm 34, verse 18. So he's close, meaning that, like, even though you might feel like you can't necessarily feel God, or you might feel confused, or you might feel like, Lord, why have you forsaken me? But that's when he's literally right there. He's not distant, and he draws near to those who are crushed in spirit. And also, the shortest verse in the Bible, John 11:35, Jesus wept, right? Mm-hmm. So God doesn't not feel grief. Like, Jesus knew, not, first of all, he was Jesus. He's God. And he knew that he knew what he was going to do a few minutes later. He knew that he was going to tell Lazarus to get up and come out. But he still wept because he still felt that pain. He was moved with grief and compassion because this man that was his friend, this man whom he loved, was dead. And he cried. And then he rose him from the dead.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like, and I know we talked about grief in different ways, right? We talked about like losing someone. We talked about losing the idea of something, losing a future, losing hope. Like it's loss of any and everything, right?
Right.
But I think it's so funny because you could have a dream, like that happens to me all the time. I'll have a dream that like someone that I really love like passed away, and I will be grieving for a couple of weeks at the very least. I remember when I was little, I had one of those dreams, and it was one of my parents. I was a hot mess for like 6 months straight. Like, I was a grown kid. My parent couldn't leave to go to work without me like bawling, and they weren't sure what was going on with me. And every time I saw them leave, I would just relive that feeling. And so the brain doesn't know the difference between what you're imagining, what's happening once, what's ongoing. The brain just knows a feeling, a signal, a thing that you are experiencing. And so I think in that moment, before Jesus raised him, he did feel the loss. He did experience everybody else's pain, which also brings up grief. You know, it's this mix of melancholy, achiness of seeing people's pain, seeing people's despair, you know, imagining your life without the person, imagining the hole that it leaves behind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
100%. He felt all of it.
yeah.
And about those dreams. I don't like those dreams. I don't like to have those dreams because a couple of times, like, I'm a dreamer. And I record
be
my
dreaming.
I do, girl. I be dreaming. And I've been that way since I was a child. And I know that God, you know, he speaks to me through dreams. And a couple of times I've had those dreams and it actually ended up happening. So I don't like those dreams. I definitely don't like those dreams. And because it's gut wrenching. And sometimes you have those dreams, especially like when it's your parents, and you just like I'll just wake up and go into war mode immediately. Immediately, because I'm just like, oh no, you're not about to come in my family.
Yeah, yeah.
But sometimes if God has decided that it's time,
Gotta prepare.
you can pray whatever you want to pray. You can fast however much you want to fast. And if it's their time, if it's your time to go, then we just kind of have to weep like Jesus wept.
Weeping is okay.
Weeping is okay. Weeping is okay. Because he heals the brokenhearted. And he binds up our wounds. That's Psalm 147 verse 3. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. And that might look very different for different people. Like I said, like for me, with time, I might just be more like okay with the idea. Like it's kind of like my brain moves through the stages of grief, and then my brain is able to reach acceptance.
Yeah.
That this is the new normal, and that's what we have to live like that now.
Yeah.
But
how do you deal with the anger stage? Because I think we've touched on that a little bit before, where I was like, I never get to the point where I'm like towards God, like it's your fault, or like why did you do that? I never get there, but I think it comes with my upbringing that wasn't really okay.
I'm not gonna lie to you, I hadn't never really gotten to that stage, but recently, when Pastor Freddie passed away, I'm not gonna lie, I was mad at God, and I didn't really want to talk to him for a few days. And then I remembered who he was and who I am.
Sorry, my bad.
And then I came back and I was like, God, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Those things I said when I was angry, I apologize, sir. But yeah, I think it was the first time in my life where I felt anger towards God. And who am I? Who am I to dare to be angry at God? But I also feel like it's a very human
He's your father
thing.
Yeah.
It's a very human thing, and I don't think that God is swayed by my emotions. Now, I'm not trying to be disrespectful towards God in my anger, right?
Yeah,
that's what. So I try to still, be angry and not sin, like the Bible says.
That's why I was asking about it, because I guess it depends on like the way that you express anger. I think you and I have different ways of expressing anger. In general, like with human beings, like my anger is just, I just shut down. And so the last time I experienced like grief that was very like that, felt like I got punched in the gut, like I did shut down on him. Like I would know that I needed to speak with him and that he would help me if I went, but I didn't want to speak to him. It's almost like I was pouting. And I felt a little ridiculous, because I was like, intellectually I knew that it was going to go away. I knew that I had no reason to do that towards him. I knew that it wasn't his like fault, God forbid I ever think that. But I just couldn't. I would even tell him like, I don't have anything to say to you right now. Like, not in a testy way, but just like,
I have nothing. Yeah. I think that's fair. I think it's fair. It's very real to just not want to talk to God.
Yeah.
Because you can't process. And it's just like you don't know what to say. And it's like sometimes when I'm angry at my earthly parents, I go away. Sometimes I will literally get up and walk away because I don't want to be disrespectful.
Yeah.
And I know that I can be. So I'm just like, let me remove myself from the situation,
Yeah.
and then I can come back. So I feel like recently, I kind of did that a little bit for a couple of days. I didn't really. I had a lot of. It's not that I didn't have anything to say, because sometimes I don't have anything to say to God, but like in this moment, I think I had too much to say.
Yeah.
And I just kind of had to watch myself and still keep that heart posture of humility. And then I was able to be like, God, I know that I was angry at you, and I was asking you all these questions, like why now, and like why him, and like all of that. And I didn't really want to like sit and listen to what you had to say, because I wasn't really trying to hear it either.
Yeah.
It's not like I just wanted to like just vomit, but I wasn't really, because whatever answer wasn't gonna take the pain away.
It's gonna be good enough. Yeah.
So, I had to be like, all right, God, I'm sorry. I'm
That's
gonna
when
talk to
you come
you
back,
again. I'm back.
That's when you come back like,
I'm back. But, I think that God understands.
yeah.
If anybody understands, it's God,
It's him,
because he,
yeah.
he made us the way that he made us, and he experienced everything that we will ever experience. And he does tell us in his word that there is a time to weep, there is a time to laugh, there's a time to mourn, and there's a time to dance.
The seasons.
There's the seasons of life. And, I think it's important to be able to have the wisdom to recognize which season you're in, so that you can respond accordingly, and not go out of your godly character, not go out of who God has called you to be, because this life will test you.
Sometimes I get mad at the tests too. I'd be like, I done did it 2 times.
I'm telling you,
Counting on my card. Why I gotta keep showing it?
Listen, sometimes you want to do what Job's wife told him to do.
Yes, ma'am.
Sometimes you just want to curse God and die. And I recently, like, for real. And like, I've been going through the book of Job recently, and I'm reading through it, and I'm just like, wow, that's exactly how I feel right now. Like, literally, like, Job is just literally like, let me pull up some Job. Let me go to Job and just read some things, because I was going through the book of Job, and I was just like, God really, he is not swayed.
Loaded.
He is not swayed by our ends at all, because he's hurt at all. But then also, kind of like I did, towards the end of the book, I think Job also comes back and he was like, oh God, I'm sorry. But Job chapter 7, he's like, my life has no hope. That's the title that I have. And he's like, has not a man a hard service on earth? And are not his days like the days of a hired hand, like a slave who longs for the shadow, and like a hired hand who looks for his wages? So I am allotted months of emptiness, and nights of misery are apportioned to me. When I lie down, I say, when shall I arise? But the night is long, and I am full of tossing till the dawn. Girl.
Damn. Sorry.
Like,
the night is long.
The night feels so long.
It do be feeling like that.
It feels so long.
Yeah.
And it's just, he goes in chapter 9, we're gonna read this knowing that God even said that he was, a righteous man. But in verse 21, he's like, I am blameless. I regard not myself. I loathe my life. It is all one. Therefore I say, he destroys both the blameless and the wicked. When disaster brings sudden death, he mocks at the calamity of the innocent. Bro, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covers the faces of his judges. If it is not he, who then is it? My days are swifter than a runner. They flee away, they see no good. They go by like skiffs of reed, like an eagle swooping on the prey. If I say I will forget my complaint, I will put off my sad face and be of good cheer. I become afraid of all my suffering, for I know you will not hold me innocent. I shall be condemned. Why then do I labor in vain? Bruh! Like, all I
You
can
know,
say is I relate. I relate to Job a lot, especially right now.
yeah,
But in all of that, Job never he never cursed God. So I think that it's okay to express
the
our
anguish.
feelings, our
Yeah.
sadness, our anguish, our anger, but we kind of still have to be mindful that regardless of the highs and lows of our emotions,
Hmm.
God is still God, you know?
Yeah.
Job was complaining and complaining and complaining, and then at the end, you know, God comes and he speaks to Job, and you know, Job was like, "Meh, meh, 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 meh." And then he had these friends that just did not do a good job of like encouraging him and
That's
uplifting him.
also
But in
important.
chapter
You gotta pay attention
38,
to who you got around you.
that part,
Yeah.
in chapter 38, the Lord answers Job out of the whirlwind and said, "Who is this that darkens counsel by words without knowledge? Dress for action like a man. I will question you, and you make it known to me. Where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth?
Eh,
Tell me if you have understanding. Who
Papa.
determined its measurements? Surely you know. Or who stretched the line upon it? On what were its bases sunk? Or who laid its cornerstone? When the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy? Or who shut in the sea with doors when it burst out from the womb? When I made clouds its garment, and thick darkness its swaddling band, and prescribed limits for it, and set bars and doors, and said, Thus far shall you come, and no farther, and here shall your proud waves be stayed. Have you commanded the morning since your days began, and caused the dawn to know its place, that it might take hold of the skirts of the earth, and the wicked be shaken out of it?
God said, "You see all this? You see all this? All this?" Okay. That's all he said. That's all he said.
God was like, Did you ever in your life call the sun to rise? Huh? Excuse me?
Eh? Excuse you.
God was like, Have you comprehended the expense of the earth? Declare if you know all this.
Yeah, because I think sometimes, this is not just to dismiss how we feel at all, at all, at all, but I think sometimes we do only feel within the scope of our own experience.
Yeah.
And, a God that has made us all and made it all cannot function in the limits of individual experiences. And that's not me, trying to say that every single hardship that one person will go through is purposefully made to happen by God. But the bigger plan and the bigger scheme of things, the bigger dynamic that the Lord has set for the world exists for a reason. And so I
Mm,
think sometimes, even though it's hard, it's almost impossible in a moment to zoom out. I think what
yeah.
has brought me relief eventually is to get the time, enough time that I can build out these external pieces, enough that I'm stepping out of the puzzle and I'm like, okay, like even if this was very gory and very horrible, horrible is a word that keeps coming to me when I think about some specific things. I'm like, it was horrible. And I don't use horrible. Like, I'm not a person that uses horrible as a word. So when that comes up, I'm like, I understand how that fit within a picture.
Mm.
I think, sometimes when I was younger, people would say that thing that really, really used to piss me off. It'd be like, everything happens for a reason. I'd be so upset. But
Or
I think,
like, oh, c'est la volonté de Dieu.
ah,
Shut
but then
up.
see, I would misunderstand it as like everything happens for a reason, as in this happened for a specific reason that's coming, that's already appointed. Whereas the way that I'm starting to understand it and I'm starting to like it is a good reason can come out of everything. And so that has been helpful. Um, yeah,
I'm not
especially,
there yet. I'm not gonna lie to
I mean,
you.
it's not true of everything. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really difficult to picture how a good reason can come out of the loss of someone you love. You know what I mean? But when we're
Yeah.
talking about like a different kind of grief, like the loss of a future or the loss of I'm not going to say like something that you already had, but something that you thought you would have.
Yeah. I can see that.
You
I
know?
can see how
Yeah.
like just thinking of just say like romantic relationships, for example,
Mhm.
like it's some things that like got removed, and when I think about it, I'm like,
Yeah, like people going through,
thank you.
I read an article before it was actually an article on grief because it was talking about divorce and people going through a divorce and how it's a loss of identity. It's a loss of identity.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's still chucked up to like, oh, you're going through a breakup. So you don't necessarily even yourself know that you're going through grief and that you're burying things and that, like you are coming back from not from zero, but you're undoing things in your life.
Yeah.
And so reading that article helped me really understand like grief has so many different it comes from so many different places, but it's the same flavor.
Mm.
It's the same flavor of like, and it really attacks your hope. Uh,
Yeah, it
it
does.
attacks your hope.
It really does attack your hope, and yeah, yeah.
But you
When
need hope to walk. You need hope to do
you do,
anything, you know.
yeah, yeah. And I think that especially like in the moments, and I think that going back to what I said in the beginning of like how it's hard for me to like keep going when I experience grief or when I experience the loss of a loved one, like when they go through physical death, I mean, is it's kind of like because I've gone through griefs where like I fasted and prayed and asked people to pray with me and to pray for the person. And I just know that my God is a prayer answering God, right? And I had such hopes that He would answer my prayers. Like, I remember when my grandmother was sick and I was praying for her, and I had, my prayer group, like everybody was praying for her. And I'm not gonna like, I asked God, like, God, are you going to save my grandmother? And this was not like a conversation that I had with God, like out loud, because, you know, it's not just God that be listening. So
Yeah.
sometimes there's some things, you just keep in your heart. And I feel like He told me, I'm like, no. You know what I did? I said, the devil is a
Please.
liar. I said, the devil is a liar. I did not accept it. I
Yeah.
didn't accept it. And He had to use somebody else that was in my prayer group that was also praying for my grandmother and, the sister in Christ. And she called me, or she sent me, I don't remember because it was years ago. I think she did call me, and she was like, God told me to tell you that you are on a wild goose chase. I'm never going to forget that. She was like, God told me to tell you that you're on a wild goose chase. And I was like, I don't know what that means.
My jaw literally dropped.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know what that, I just like was in denial. I was in denial, and I kept praying for my grandmother. I kept praying all the way until, her final moments. I kept praying for her. But He had already said what He said. And that hurt me. And sometimes you go through that and you kind of feel like, that bratty child that asked, you know, her father for something and he said no, and you just kind of like, "Mm, mm, mm." But, when you're talking about like, yes, she was my grandmother. Yes, I loved her. Yes, I wanted her to be here. However, before she was ever my grandmother, she was God's daughter.
Daughter. Yeah.
She doesn't belong to me. She belongs to him,
Mm-hmm.
right? I don't belong to me. I belong to him.
Mm-hmm.
So when he decides that it's time for me to come home,
Gotta come home.
I gotta go home.
Yeah. Yeah. I maybe this is something. It's not maybe. Lord, this is something I need help with. Because now that girl, I learned how to bring things to the Lord
Mm-hmm.
and
Ain't he
just be
good?
like,
Ain't he good?
I don't know how to do this. Help me. I'm not gonna go like run around for 2 years trying to figure it out before I come surrender it to you. I'm gonna surrender it to you right now. But you said something about like that you serve a prayer answering God, and I don't know if it's because I'm always afraid to ask, or if I don't believe I deserve it. But I don't always think of God that way. Like when I pray, I'm like, maybe. Like if he so happens that if it so happens to align, maybe he will do it. And I think maybe that has affected like my prayer life, because my prayer life, like, yes, I am always in gratitude, which is one thing that's like helped me a lot. If I don't have anything to say, at least I have some thank yous to say, which is great. I'm not
Right.
saying that's not the right way to do it, but I don't petition the Lord.
Yeah.
I just go whatever you can spare, like whatever you want to do, like. And
Yeah.
I think that's not necessarily helping me as much. I do want him to guide me and help me, like, speak up and ask
Yeah.
for guidance and ask him for things, and for him to tell me yes and no so I can understand him better, because that's part of learning him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think maybe that's also why I only feel his presence as much when I'm brokenhearted, because I'm like, oh, I'm wounded, so you have a reason to want to be around me or something.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I understand. I think where you're coming from is like, it's not that it's just like, oh, maybe, but it's kind of like, God, I want this, but if it's your will, I mean, I really, really want it, but not my will, but let your will be done.
Yeah.
And when it comes to like the loss of loved ones,
Mm.
and yeah, I could be biased, or I could be, in my limited human understanding, because he did allow it to happen, right? But I don't think that all of the things that God allows to happen are
Or his
necessarily
will.
part of his will. You know what I'm saying?
I
Like
see what
if
you
you
mean.
go, you know, if Job, let's talk about Job.
Mhm.
Yeah, he told Satan that Satan could go and do whatever, because he had faith in Job, that Job was not gonna turn his back on him. But all the things that Satan did, that wasn't, God didn't tell Satan to do all that stuff. So, you
Mhm.
know, I could be wrong, but there's some things that, like, I hate it when people are like, oh, it's just God's will. Please shut up.
Yeah, I
Because
don't think.
no.
Yeah, it's like we had this conversation at this like series that I'm doing at church with, it's called Following Christ. It's the second series of its kind, and we talked about like, are there any coincidences or like accidents in life, and we all agreed that it was like a yes and no kind of answer, where it's like there are no accidents because everything is engineered for everything to happen the way it does, and that includes, I call it, and I used to tell that to my sibling before, because they're really hard on themselves, and I was like, there's a universal wheel of suffering that everybody has to pay into. That's always been kind of like my view of things, which is why I keep coming from that other angle of like, I don't really, and it's a little unfortunate for me sometimes, because I don't approach life with like things should work.
Mm,
I'm like, things are bound to not work and they might work. And
mm,
I think it's hindering me getting to know God, because even with him, it's hindering him fathering me because I'm like, oh, I don't deserve anything. I don't deserve you hearing my petition. I don't deserve you hearing me out. Um, so I think I don't think it's like God's will where he got up and he was like, well, this situation is gonna end in this specific way.
Mm.
But at the same time, he knows everything, he made everything, and I am a firm believer that a lot, if not everything on earth, follows the laws of nature. It's just like
Yeah.
how things are, and he's the creator of those laws. So,
Yeah, he is.
even in randomness, there's order.
Yeah.
It's,
Agreed.
it's tough.
It is. It is. Um, and I don't have the answers.
No, I mean nobody, and don't nobody
Nobody
got the
does.
answers. No, nobody got the answers.
Nobody got the answers.
Yeah.
We are not sway. Sway,
When you read,
maybe.
there's a part of Job that you read. It was the first reading that you did, and it really like it's just now releasing its grip on my throat. And it was the whole like I loathe my days, and my days go by swiftly, and I know what it feels like to, for multiple reasons, for losing someone, for losing yourself, for losing hope. Like I know what it feels like to be in fetal position for days at a time, and
Same.
to feel like if you were to just function, that would be so much work for you to put one foot after the other. And I was just having this conversation with a friend at choir today who, like their partner lost their mom, and so I asked like, how's the person doing? And he's like, yeah, she is telling me that she's just now able to put one foot after the other. And I'm like, I think that's that period, right, where you are pretending. I mean, things are quote unquote moving forward,
Right.
and there's those 3 to 5 to 10 to 30 days of just like pretending that you're moving forward while you're like, no, but we're going to talk about this thing, right? And then eventually it becomes a thing that's in the background, but you are somehow able to do it. I thank God that he made us very adaptable beings. I think there was a time, if you told me the amount of loss that I would have experienced, like losing people in the same year in a row, I would have told you that I would have like curled up in a ball and died. Like, that's how I would have felt about it. But God is gracious enough that like in the moment he teaches your heart to expand, and he teaches your body to just continue breathing long enough for your heart to expand. And I think that that's where I have found him in the middle of grief whenever I could. Whenever I could.
Yeah. I feel like right now I'm in that pretending period.
Yeah.
And you know what you just said of like him still like giving you breath until you're able to like move forward again. I feel like that's where I am. It's like I have breath in my lungs, and it's the breath that he's giving me.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for not my body, but like I guess my mind
Yeah.
to catch up.
And like be able to
Yeah.
breathe again and
To breathe again.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
All right, soldiers. Thanks for holding space for us today.
If this was helpful for you, whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or you're watching us on YouTube, join the army, enlist your friends, and let's keep building each other up. Until next time, stay rooted in the word.
Keep sharpening your swords.